they always consist of at least some harmaline or harmal alkaloids and DMT or NN-DMT. And when taken, this profound event, kind of catapults the participant into a completely different layer of reality. They're not tripping, they're not going out of the brains, they're not going mad, it's not druggy stuff. They're simply turning the dial from 3D to 4D. And if your system of reality and your system of navigation is limited, for whatever reasons, you're going to find that a very confusing, strange experience and come back and not really understand it. If you have spent time to clear your mind and to think truly and credibly about your own existence, then it will mean a lot more. So more and more people like David Icke and Graham Hancock are beginning to personally participate in this, and you can read their books and see what they think about it. And when they do, they invariably come back with quite a deep message, which is a personal message from the vine, as some people call it, which provides a connection to the Mother Earth that obviously in the West we lost eons ago. But this specific medicine, because that's what it is, this specific medicine taken in the right setting, in the right place, and that's what it's all about with this thing. It's not something you do in your bedroom at home. It's something you go to take with an ayahuasca expert. Then in that particular setting, it has much more of a connection to where it comes from, what it means. So it has a hugely cathartic effect on the user, and it cleans them out, and it points them in the right direction, and it gives them a good hiding if they've not been very good, and encouragement if they're doing well. So it's like the ultimate personal, no bullshit critic that can see transparently through you. So it is a medicine, that's what it is. And just like any other medicine, it's not to be abused, it's not for fun, it's not something you do for kicks.
Yeah.
It is a medicine.
Yeah, that's an important thing to point out. And also that I think there's, as you mentioned, there are different kind of ways to reach this level, and going through that particular experience might not be necessary for everyone, perhaps. You could get there through other means,
Yeah, some people, if you're lucky enough to live in areas where Zen Buddhism is practiced, there are equally effective methods. They require a lot more discipline. They require a lot more effort, but the result is the same thing. It is a shifting of that consciousness level, a shifting of that frequency. So imagine that the thing you are doing is, you're stuck on the 3D frequency all the time. You don't have a dial on a radio that you can move. It's just stuck on that frequency. These practices, these techniques, these medicines, these systems of enlightenment, they exist to create a dial that is on your head. And when you turn the dial, you suddenly have a new station to go to, and you can turn it back again as well, which is helpful. So that's what this thing does. It opens up the mind. It does expand the consciousness, to use that 60s expression, but it expands it in such a way that it is done within a natural context. So you can go and take a look at these things and experience them. So I would recommend people look at the information. I'm not suggesting everyone dives out and heads over to the Amazon to have a go.
Sure.
Look at the information, listen to some of the people from the West who've done it, and see what effect it's had. Not just the sacred medicines, but also the meditation techniques. There are many, many Westerners who've gone across on personal journeys to discover meditation and its purpose. It's nothing to do with relaxation. That's a byproduct. That is an epiphenomenon of the main event. The main event is to shift the frequency of consciousness from the habitual 3D realm to another one. That's what it's for.
Yeah, exactly. Very good point. And, do you think that this might also connect with the idea that you briefly mentioned by, Terence McKenna talked about the time wave zero idea, that potentially we're approaching a point in and around 2012 then again, but that seems to be pointing towards that date, that we could end up in a world where, I guess, dream time and linear time kind of merge or become mixed in some way, or that Terence
McKenna, kind of began his ascent into the annals of philosophical fame as an ethnobotanist. So he would study the plants and the systems of chemicals that ran through them and the relationship between people. So if you take a look at my blog at some point, you'll see that I think my latest sort of article covers some of this, and there's some links to some of the more esoteric or unusual terms. And so he had approached it from the beginning with access to this medicine. Mm-hmm. And of course, some people think, oh yeah, he's a crazy, druggy, long-haired guy, and what's he talking about? If you listen to McKenna speak, which I would definitely advise people go and do, and there are various podcasts that are all in existence and free to download as far as I can gather. And if you go and take a look at my blog, over on the right-hand side there are some links. There's one there to a brilliant podcast by a guy called Lorenzo, the Psychedelic Salon, and he has a lot of McKenna material on there. Mm-hmm. What you will find when you listen to McKenna is he's one of the most incredibly articulate and incredibly linguistic people you'll ever meet, although you won't meet him because he's not around anymore, but you'll meet him through his words and you'll meet him through your resonance with them. And he put forward the idea of the time wave, which was an idea that centers around an ebb and flow of novelty, which the universe creates, which when you can determine that to mean a couple of different things, and in my blog I'm just pulling it up to remind myself, I described it as kind of dynamic creativity in the universe. And this thing comes around and enables us to create, to build, to civilize ourselves, to grow, to develop consciousness, to move, to refine, to do all the things that you would imagine nature would want to do with itself. But this element of the universe has a pattern, as McKenna described it, a fractal geometry, which eventually spirals down in the same way that a shell does that you would pick out of the beach. When you look at those shells, they spiral in and then get to a tiny point. That point in the middle is the singularity. Yep. And at the singularity, all novelty is infinitely expressed. And when he mapped out his time wave, which was based, on quite subjective judgments, quite subjective interpretations of history, and when certain inventions came about and civilizations came and fell and systems of thought emerged, this time wave came to an end initially it was in 2011, and he revised that when he started to discover the Mayan calendar because it was such an obvious connection, and although he had no knowledge of it when he was developing his time wave theory. And
by the way, that's interesting because that's kind of the other way around, because I know that Carl Johan Kellerman actually points towards 28th of October, I think, 2011 as the end point.
Yes, and I think it would be wise for anybody who's looking into this to not be specific about the 21st of December 2012. It's not a light switch moment.
Yeah, sure.
It's a crest on a graph. It's the apex of a certain mapped out line. It's not an event where somebody throws a switch and everything changes instantly. Yeah. I don't think it's going to work like that. You can see the events in progress now, and you can figure out where we are on the line now. That is just a point on a process. It's not something that did not exist that will suddenly come into existence. It is a moment of maximum potential and maximum possibility. And as McKenna described it, at this concrescence of infinite novelty, all conceivable things will occur simultaneously. And as I say, at the time, he was not aware of the Mayan calendar. We only have his word for that, but I believe he is a man of his word, so that is okay with me. And when he did discover the Mayan calendar, he realized that there was such a tie-in with what he was doing that he revised his information quite openly and said there is clearly a connection here. So I try and draw some of the interesting possibilities together in my blog piece about McKenna, about Kellerman, about the brilliant Ian Lungold, who's now sadly not with us anymore either.
Yeah, that's right.
And what those things mean for eschatology, what they mean for so-called apocalyptic news reporting, to try and clear up what the word apocalypse actually means. So yeah, as ever, I'm really pulling various threads together and putting my own interpretation on top of those.
Yeah, and you do it very good, or very well, I should say. And you know, I want to ask you here: do you feel like continuing in our subscriber section and continuing this interview there, because we're actually almost out of time here in the first segment?
Sure, yes, I'd love to.
All right, very good. You know, what I want to do here, though, before we end off, is that I know that you're writing a book, and I know that you're very busy with that, keeping up with that, and I also want to leave the floor open in the last few minutes here, just to let you mention your blog, or if there's anything else you want to leave us with in the first segment here.
Sure, well, that's very kind of you, thank you. Take a look at my blog, which is thecleaver.blogspot.com. Go and have a look. See if you can find anything interesting. I hope you can. Certainly lots of things we've touched on in this hour, mentioned in greater detail. There's a bunch of articles on there this year. There's some going back to last year as well, so everything's still there. It's all free and open. There's no kind of ugly adverts, so hopefully it'll be pleasurable to move around. There is also some links on there to sites that I think have good information and are worth looking at. And if you click on the About Me section, you can see a little picture of Patrick Magoo, and that isn't me, it's someone else. And if you click on that, it will give you my email, which you can certainly communicate with me if you wish. And also a book I'm working on at the moment, which I expect will surface in March 2008. If anybody's interested in that, I can pass you information about it and put you on the kind of, first line of receipt. So anybody who wants to take a look at a kind of consolidation of my feelings and thoughts, that book will hopefully reflect those things. So that's it.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk, and I hope it's been interesting. Absolutely
wonderful. Looking forward to that in March, everybody. And in the meantime, check out thecleaver.blogspot.com. So Neil and I are going to take a little break here, but we'll see you on the other side of this break. So thank you so much for coming on, Neil.
Thank you very much.
Don't miss our subscriber interview with Neil Kramer. We're going to talk more about atheism and how other people's versions of reality is being imprinted in us through the media. We're also going to talk about Abraham Maslow's pyramid of needs and how this connects with the pyramid with the removed capstone, the all-pervasive symbol of the power structure. So don't miss this excellent continuation coming right up in the subscriber section. Head on over to redicecreations.com to find out how to sign up and tune in. Big thanks to Fredrik behind the controls and to you for listening. We will be back on Sunday with Bruce Lipton to talk about the biology of belief. This is Henrik Palmgren. Until next time, all the best and take good care.
Fall from this life, and if you can't see the star, you're probably gone too far. Like the voice that cried on the lonesome tide, like a whale was the only love it ever saw.